for Bring Your Own Lunch. Personal stories about the business with my daddy, Dave T. Kenning.
All right, come on in, have a seat. Welcome. This is the Bring Your Own Lunch podcast at bringyourownlunch.com, the magic of iTunes, the majesty of Stitcher, and however you found your way to download this podcast, I thank you. As you heard at the top, my name is Dave T. Koenig. I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, comedian, all-around swell dude. I once put the lime in the coconut and drank it all up, and seriously, overrated. And of course, I am the host of the podcast you're listening to right now. BYOL is the hashtag you can use if you want to reach out to us on social media, facebook.com/bringyourownlunch, Twitter at BYOL podcast, Instagram at bringyourownlunch. On YouTube, it's out there, and several other methods for getting in touch. Of course, you can always send me a personal email, dave@bringyourownlunch.com, and I love to hear from each and every person who ever wants to reach out to me because communication is what this is all about. And speaking of communication, my guest this week, excellent communicator, really smart guy, a very talented actor, and somebody who has studied a lot of interesting things involved in this business. Mike Smith Rivera, a.k.a. Mr. Clown. And I don't say that in a pejorative sense. No, he is a very, very well-studied clown artist, as well as actor and improviser and good stuff like that. He comes from Brooklyn, and right now he lives in Manhattan in one of the most interesting buildings in New York, I think, Manhattan Plaza. I usually don't tell people where my guests live, but in this case, it's a very famous building that is dedicated to artists on the west side of Manhattan, and it's worth looking at for yourselves and looking up and finding out what it's all about, because it really is fascinating. And the interview is obviously about Mike, but I had to ask him some stuff about the building itself, and he knows quite a bit about it, so it was great to hear his insight on that particular building and who lives there and who lived there and how influential it was in the world of entertainment. So we do go into that a little bit, but Mike studied up at Syracuse, coincidentally, with two guys who were friends of my brother growing up. Just strange how the world goes. But after college, he got into clowning, and he really focused on that. And he studied at the Dell'Arte International School of Physical Theater, the Institute of Canadian Clowning, and has made that a huge part of not just his artistic self, but his entire being. And it's really interesting to get some insight on an area of entertainment and performance that I myself have only a fractional knowledge of. So if you're at all interested in clowning as an art, well, this is a guy who can tell you quite a bit. I met Mike several years ago. It's another one of my improv connections. He actually went to UCB to take some improv training, and he ended up on an independent improv team called Jeff Fahey is Tron. They also went under a different name, but that's also where I met Ronnie Fleming, who was my guest way back in episode 12 of this podcast. And working with Mike, I knew he was a huge talent and brought a lot to the table. And it was a few months later I realized that he and I had the same commercial and voiceover agents. So it was very cool to run into him after this really specific setting of being his coach in improv, and then seeing that we were co-stablemates in the Abrams Artists family. So that was very, very cool. And so I thought he'd be great to have on this podcast, and the conversation we had only proved that out. And we don't just talk about clown either. We go into some really interesting conversations about a broad variety of subjects. But one thing that's also really interesting about him is that he just strikes me as pure American from a casting standpoint. You look at him, and he, as he described it, is ethnically ambiguous, and that's a hot term, and it is very true about him. And you hear him speak, and he sounds American. Yet somehow and some why, the industry tends to want to look at him through the filter of his Mexican heritage. And it created some interesting conversations for him and some interesting situations for him. And we'll go into that also. So lots to talk about with Mike, and I'm really interested in bringing this to you and hope you will enjoy the conversations we had. A couple of quick notes, a few things going on for me. As I mentioned several podcasts ago, I did an episode of the NBC show Allegiance. That is currently running right now. I am in episode 4, albeit a little bit briefly. That is coming up on Thursday, February 26th at 10 p.m. And it's always great if you could tune in and let me know what you think. Also, last week, my guest was Stian Hafstad. He is one half of the comedy video viral team geniuses, Pistol Shrimps. And a few days after the podcast came out, Stian and his partner Christer Larson, they won the funniest channel at the Norwegian YouTube Awards. So congratulations to them. Well deserved. And if you haven't checked out Pistol Shrimps on YouTube yet, go do it because it is really, really good stuff. And while you're there, check out STD Oddfjord because you might see your friend Dave in it for quite a bit. So just a little self-plug as well as congratulations to them. Last week on Friday, by the way, we do this thing on Friday with Twitter called Thanks for Following Friday. I ended up working on Friday, and I'm very glad to say that. It's obviously not something I'm apologizing for. However, I didn't get the Thanks for Following Friday stuff out on Friday, and by the time this whole holiday weekend thing shook out, I ran out of time. So we're going to have a double shot coming up on Friday. But for now, just know that I was working on Friday, and I had an opportunity to work up in Dobbs Ferry, New York with Pioneer Road Productions under the capable direction of Andy McWhirter. It was an industrial project, and can't tell you too much about it, but it was very interesting, and spent the day working with some kids, pretending to be a basketball coach, and doing sort of a talking head interview type thing. It was really interesting, and I was very happy to do that. So I want to say thanks to Pioneer Road and to Andy McWhirter and to Brett Goldstein, who was the casting director. That was a fun job, and I hope to get to work with them again in the future. And also, over the long holiday weekend, I went to my very first estate auction. This has nothing to do with the business, really, although possibly a small amount. My dad said, hey, there's going to be this auction of this guy. Do you want to go? And I've never been, and my wife has never been, and certainly my kids have never been to an estate auction. So we said, yeah, what the heck? So my parents and my wife and I and our kids went to this place to witness an estate auction where they basically auction off all the items that was left by somebody who is no longer with us. And in this case, a lot of the items came from the estate of a guy named Gus Jekyll. And what was particularly interesting to me is that he was in the entertainment business. He was an animator for Disney and a few other companies back in the 30s. He ended up starting his own company, and he obviously did well for himself because the stuff they were selling was unbelievable. Some like original Picassos and Monets and Manets and Rembrandts, and it was just incredible to just stand inches away from really, really amazing art. And it's a rare opportunity without going to a museum, and especially having such easy access to it was great. And the auction itself was really interesting. There were a lot of people who knew what they were doing and put big bids on a lot of items. I wasn't in the market for anything particular, so we were just there to watch. But it was really interesting. And if you want to know where some of my sense of humor comes from, I'll just I'll tell it to you like this. Afterwards, we went out to lunch. We got some Japanese food. We got some sushi. It was always nice. And somewhere in the middle of lunch, my dad leans over to me and goes, "Hey, Dave, at the auction, did you notice that a lot of that stuff was used?" So that's my dad's sense of humor, and I think a lot of that has filtered down to me in one way or another, for better or worse, I guess, depending on your state of mind. Before we get into it with Mike Smith Rivera, got to thank Banuba, banuba.net, BANOOBA. Of course, they provide the music at the beginning and middle and end of this show, and it wouldn't be the same without them, so I got to thank them each and every week. And by the way, if you have some time, go to iTunes or to Stitcher and rate and review and subscribe to this program if you like it. If you don't like it, just stay quiet. But if you do like it, it really helps if you can give us a review, if you can give us a star rating, as it were, and if you can subscribe. It really tells iTunes that you're interested and that we're doing good stuff, and that it helps to put the word out there, and even word of mouth if you'd like to do some of that too. I'm not going to complain. Just go ahead and do it. All right, let's get into it with Mike Smith Rivera, Mr. Clown. Really fascinating guy. You're going to learn a lot. So you might want to grab a pen and paper and take some notes, or don't. It's up to you. But either way, enjoy my time with Mike Smith Rivera. Let's talk about this building that you live in.
This is Manhattan Plaza. A friend of mine recently told me that it was called Talent Towers. It's a historic building that was built in the 70s, luxury apartments, and it went bankrupt. So one thing they decided to do was get the lowest of the low of the city, the scum of the earth, the artists,
yes, the
musicians,
actors and entertainers,
actors, performers, who will do anything for anything.
Sure.
They shipped them in here, and they gave them a deal, which was here you pay only a percentage of your income, and you can live here until you die, basically, or you stop paying rent, and then we'll kick you out.
So it's good for life. People who live here can stay here until they're gone.
It is a golden ticket. And there's waiting lists, and the waiting list for the waiting list. I put my name on the waiting list in, I think, college. I was selling novelties at Bring in the Noise, Bring in the Funk at the Ambassador. And I would just yell out stuff, do like puppet shows with the shirts and the hats. And I would basically just be annoying. But for some reason, the owner of that business, or I guess it was Schubert, or I forget what, the company that worked at Theater Refreshment, he was like, let him do whatever he wants. He's pushing product and selling it, and people enjoy it, seem to enjoy it.
Money talks, man.
Right. And so I just kept doing that. And I think one of the ushers or a bartender was like, you should put your name on this list. It's a great building, and just walk over there. So I think one matinee, afterwards, I just walked over here and put my name on the list, and time passed, and they would send a postcard, "Are you still in New York?" So you had to live in New York, and you had to make just beneath a certain amount of money. And I think actually when we got the call, it was the next year we would have made too much. So it actually worked out perfectly. And
it's not like they review it again once you're in. So you can start making big bucks and pay almost nothing in rent.
Exactly. And there's a cap. So if you make $1 million, you're still only paying the max of whatever. Right.
It's sort of like SAG dues, where it's like, okay, you might have a great year, but you're not going to be, paying more than X amount as the highest amount you could possibly pay.
Right. And I've heard some people pay like $20 or like, because they, I guess if it's off the books, I mean, your influx, I'm sure, whatever, because there's Section 8, because it was not only artists, but it was also people who were living in substandard housing in the neighborhood in Hell's Kitchen.
Okay, yeah.
So there's some of that too. And it's just such an incredible building. I don't know how the other tower does it, because they don't have dogs.
Oh, in the other one.
We have dogs in this building, and it's the best. But I've heard also that there used to be free or reduced parking for people that live here, residents.
Oh, man.
And also there used to be like midnight swims at the pool downstairs. You get a discount rate to the gym.
Wow.
And it was like a sort of paradise. So they've now, just in the history of politics, they've reduced things with laws to say curb the entertainment value. Like you could get kicked out. I heard there was some guy who was crazy who, I think he was a playwright who'd won some awards, but he was like going down in his pajamas to check the mail, or he was riding around on a bicycle naked in the hallways. So I think there's a you get Bellevue or you get this place, and there's a documentary online or a short version of it. I'm not sure. The Miracle on 42nd Street might be the website. You can Google it probably and find it.
Which is slightly inaccurate, but that's okay, because we're not quite on 42nd Street, but it's close enough. Right.
The entrances are on there. There are people overhang, and they had great views, and then they built a tower across the street, so they can't really see down. They had the perfect view. And what I really love is going to other people's places and seeing how they decorate.
Yeah. And it seems like this building, and obviously we want to talk about you, not just the building you live in, but
we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get there. But it seems like this building, in a way, is like a throwback to the old New York, where you would have a sense of community within your own apartment building. It sort of replaced the idea of having a next door neighbor. You had all these people in your apartment building who were sort of your community.
Yeah.
And that you definitely feel that here, right?
Absolutely. And then there's what's really crazy is that you get people that are so used to it. They get really, like anything in New York, they get immune to how wonderful this place is.
I can see that happening.
Grumpy and there's doormen, but before this place opened, Samuel Jackson, this was the last job he worked. He was a doorman downstairs.
Wow.
It was the last gig. I think it was just before it opened. And just the people are incredible. And like you said, it's a community. You've got kids growing up. You've got an amazing playground. You've got sometimes I'll play touch football with the kids downstairs. They got basketball courts. They got tennis courts. I mean, that's private club, but everything's reduced, obviously. And it's just so central to everything that it's really a diamond. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I would probably live there, but it's easier for me to live here than in Brooklyn.
Yeah. I mean, you're right by. It was so many places that you'd be going every day to audition. Why would you live anywhere else? I mean, this is kind of a rare opportunity for people to live affordably in New York City as an artist.
Yeah.
And also be able to get to the places they need to get. Because, I mean, sure, you could probably find affordable housing, maybe not these days, but you probably could find affordable housing way up in the 200s. But that's a decent-sized commute.
My goodness.
You got right in the middle of everything.
Yeah, it's really such a blessing that we happen upon this place. And what they do is they'll show you 3 places. It's so mythical. They'll show you 3 places, but you don't get to see the other doors. So they'll show you one place. You could say you don't want it, you don't want it. Then they'll show you another place, and you want it. And then the 3rd place, and then that's it.
If you don't take the first 2, you have to take the 3rd?
Right, and if you don't take the 3rd...
Wow.
So we actually would have gotten a different... This is actually one of the really nice 1-bedrooms. But it only fell to us because a person transferring inside the building came in and was like, my china cabinet won't fit in here.
Oh, man.
So they passed it on to us. And so we were like, okay. And, like Chris Rock says, the first couple years, we just kept our stuff kind of by the doors, like, this is a mistake. Someone's going to be like, look, this is an accident. We expected it. It's totally misunderstanding. We had a really great ride to it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But I could see that. I mean, you're in this place, and it's you hear somebody paying affordable prices in the city. Okay, is it a closet? I mean, is there room for a bed in the entire place? And this is a nice amount of space.
It's wonderful. Although, you can never get enough closet space for a wife.
No,
I don't think.
No, I mean, I can't get enough closet space for me. So,
and you have a daughter, right?
I have a daughter and a son and a wife, goodness. And there's not enough room for anything. It's a
circus.
Literally, the walls are kind of like pushing out from within. Yes, it's like people trying to get out. If you drive past my house, people are like, "Is something trying to get out of your house?"
It's like kinetic energy around ring around the tub from the power moving around.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Do you have any other sense of who might have lived in this particular apartment historically? Or
actually, because you move in, sometimes you'll get mail from the previous person. And so I kind of Googled the person. I think it was a sound designer. And if you look up, you can see they did some patching. Oh. So I wonder if he had some track lighting or some studio, because you can get those inflatable walls, I guess, that can fill out stuff. Yeah. So you can kind of see where he might have done stuff. So the one deficiency, obviously, is that this room will turn completely black at night. So we got sort of this, but I think he probably did some of that. But Peter Fitzgerald, I think he was a Broadway sound designer.
Okay.
And my wife said that he came to her in a dream.
Wow.
Ghost. And she's pretty sensitive to stuff. We saw Drag Me to Hell, and she didn't sleep and woke me. I was like, there's a gypsy in the corner. And I was like, let me just sleep. But she said he came to him and he was like, take care of the apartment. And she was like, okay. And so she hasn't seen him since.
Wow.
But it was cool. It was nice that he came to visit.
That's pretty amazing. And yeah. I guess this place is probably loaded with, if you believe in spirits and ghosts and things like that, I mean, this is the place that was going to have them, because you were telling me earlier that the number of the huge names that lived in this building.
Yeah. Charles Mingus, I think Sonny Rollins, Ella Fitzgerald.
There would be no jazz if it were not for this building.
Yeah, and Tennessee Williams. I think Duke Ellington, because there's a Duke Ellington room.
Wow.
There's rehearsal studios downstairs that you can sign up for. And the people are so wonderful that it's incredible. I mean, even just, let's see, what was the comedy club that used to be over here on 44th?
Was that...
the big one.
Was that Catch a Rising Star?
No.
No. That was on the east side.
It was like the first one that sort of changed comedy.
Not Caroline's.
Right. 44th and 8th, I think. Anyway.
Oh, it's going to drive me nuts, but go ahead.
So Larry David used to live here, and Seinfeld used to live here. Mm-hmm. And they met across the street at the West Wing, so we're talking about a meeting. So basically, the vibe of that show, I feel like, is a lot of what this building is like. The sort of doors open, neighbors running in. Kenny Kramer still lives here. Mm-hmm. He's got his car in the garage. Says Kramer on the thing. I think he gives tour buses.
He still does it, because I remember he was doing it about 10 years ago. That was a big thing, to go get a tour of the Seinfeld spots from Kenny Kramer.
Well, I saw him I think a couple weeks ago. So he was still doing. He had like a big bus load. So I guess it's like, but why would you ever retire from that?
No, especially if you're only paying this much money for an apartment. You might as well just cash in.
Absolutely,
that's what I'd do.
Yeah, I don't think he's here that much, because I used to see him a lot more. But once you get that big.
He's retroactive. It's strange, because he got that big because somebody else got big as him. Mm-hmm. That's got to be odd for him in a lot of different ways. But actually, the original Superman was right around here, too.
That's right. He's up on 50, I think 50 something.
Wow. So the
store's still there, I think, right?
I think, but it's all revamped, and it's not the kind of hole in the wall that they depicted on Seinfeld. It's it's a for real thing. That's it's got franchises and stuff.
Well, I guess that's how New York feels when California does New York shows.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not living it. Yeah. But there's like a romance in LA of New York. It's like, what magnificent suffering you guys had.
Exactly.
And I feel like LA is made for New Yorkers that get older. It's like a retirement community.
Yeah,
it's
like
3
Florida.
hours earlier, and you have like all your sports teams play earlier, so you can watch them and eat dinner.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So enough about this building. Let's talk about you and what got you to be in this building as a working artist.
Okay.
All right. You said you grew up in Brooklyn.
That's right. I was born in Brooklyn, grew up there.
Where in Brooklyn?
Brooklyn Hospital. I grew up in Park Slope. And
that's a nice area to grow up in. Yeah,
it was heavenly, and we were right by the park. I played Little League in there, and it was just a great place to grow up. It was still a little, I'm not going to say edgy, but you go to Fifth Avenue, Fourth Avenue, it was interesting, and you could feel that the vibe shift was different, but it was great. Although you get young kids, everybody's a hoodlum at heart. Sooner or later, you just get all that energy. And that's what I like about going on the train. You could still see that there's no filter. There's no this is too loud to be. Yeah. And it's their city, so you grow up here and you grow up fast because people treat you like an adult sooner. You're just in the middle of the stream. You don't grow up sort of safe in the suburbs. I mean, no one's safe. Suburbs actually scare me more than cities do, because I'm like, it's a little quiet. I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know what they're doing with their spare time.
They're obviously trying to come up with something to hurt me with.
They've got basements and maps drawn up, and I'm just not. I don't know what they have. But New York, you bump into everybody all the time, so you see them,
right, and
you sooner or later you're going to run into everybody.
It does make sense. Now, you say that everybody was kind of a hoodlum, and what year did you graduate high school?
I don't usually give this out.
Okay,
but
don't tell me. Don't tell me.
I went to Stuyvesant High School, which was a math and science high school. So I'd say the 90s.
Okay, good enough. Fair enough. But what I really want to know is, and that gives me an idea, because what I was wondering was when you grew up and came of age before this shift to, let's say, how Williamsburg has become this sort of shishi place, and there's parents and entitlement and all that stuff. Before all that stuff got cleaned up, I mean, Red Hook was Red Hook back then. So I mean, when you go to these places in Brooklyn, what do you see in terms of a difference in the culture and all that stuff?
Well, I used to play actually soccer in Red Hook, and we used to, there's glass on the field, and it was just a mess. What I love about it is that I kind of feel like I have a season pass into Disney World. So it's like all the affectations and the quaintness, you can actually feel the border shifts. Like I just did a show, I think it was like Gowanus, it was like on 3rd Avenue and just off of Union, and I was like, man, it's so different. And that's the beautiful thing about New York is you get just waves of stuff happening, so I find it amusing, because everybody always comes in, and after a little bit they're entitled. They've done their service, their first they've been in. Oh, now I'm a real New Yorker. Everybody's a real New Yorker now, and they feel like they've earned. Oh, it's hysterical.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up on Long Island, and I knew New York as the old New York. the like out on 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue being a really dangerous place to be, or Alphabet City being a place you just never would go. And people who move here in the last 10 years, they're like, yeah, I survived New York. But it's like, you have no idea what New York. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you're taking your life in your hands. And that's why you get people that will come in, especially Jersey. They come in because they're like, we have to get bombed before we get here to survive whatever crazy madness is going to come upon us.
Yeah, like all the Disney stuff in Times Square. Yeah, that's tough to survive.
But I think there's something to the energy of the massive, like, I'm sure you get this. And I when I was living over on the East Side, I would just get tired being outside. Like, there's just so much energy. So even if it's not the fear or the scariness or the wildness, there's still so much frenetic ambition and energy that it is mentally exhausting. You just kind of just sit and be like, ugh.
Yeah. Although I do find it's not as exhausting as it used to be.
Right.
I remember when I was living on Long Island, I'd come into the city for a day. Let's say, like I had an internship at NBC when I was in college, and I would go in, and by the end of the day, you're like exhausted. Even though I sat in an office for most of that time, just like surviving the like you said, the frenetic aspects of New York City could be exhausting. But now it seems like maybe it's because everybody's a little more focused downward on their phones. I don't know what it is, but it's not quite as exhausting.
Right. Could be your armor. Could be a New Yorker.
I could be officially a New Yorker now. Yeah.
Your muscle armor is you're like a samurai now.
That's right. That's true.
I mean, feel it.
I'm made of steel.
I think that as artists, and I've heard this before, sometimes you don't need to hit a nail with like a sledgehammer. You just hit it with so you kind of divine how much energy you need. And I think that preparation, like I know a lot of, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, you would read on trains, you'd read books, you'd have that time. So that's why I always thought like Manhattanites were a little dumber because their attention span.
Because they didn't have as much as they weren't on the subway as long.
They were living, they're basically living on their cell phones because like they have like 10 or 15 seconds before they're where they need to be.
Right.
So they don't have that sort of thought process.
I've never thought of it that way, but it's true. I mean, I guess Long Islanders are the same way because, you have a 45-minute commute at least, and there's a lot of time. And before cell phones, you had no choice. You had to read something.
Or think about something or run lines.
Or listen to music even.
Right. And one of the things I used to start doing is I'd start performing on trains. So that was one of the things I started developing is because I was on this commute, and because people are so fascinating and interesting, and each train car is its own universe, you have this magical opportunity that a lot of people sort of take for granted. I'm on this train, or they're trying to get through things. Like I was just thinking to myself yesterday, age is really the time you're waiting for things to happen. So if you're just doing what you want to do, you don't feel time.
True.
You don't age.
Very true.
So if you're waiting patiently in line for your dreams to arrive, that's actually just age, because that's where people get cranky. Oh, I'm angry about this because this isn't happening, or I have to wait for this.
Yeah, it's true.
People are always waiting for stuff.
Yeah.
And I just really like performing, and I really like interacting with people. And you could do such interesting things too, like when you knew you were here for one stop.
Right.
And that became really fascinating because there are trains where you can go through the doors. So you've got like a comedian-like farce. You can go one door, come out the other door, come through again. You can have a re-entrance to your next train car. So people will already have that chill energy that they've seen you and adapted to you, but you have a whole new set of eyes getting on the train.
Yeah.
And you can play with that. And they use the other people as social cues. Is this unusual behavior?
That's fascinating.
So you can adapt everything, and something that may seem risque to a new crowd, because half the people are like smiling or enjoying it.
They've already accepted you.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
So when I do clown work and I work with my wife, she doesn't wear a nose usually. They always look at her like she's the crazy person, because you're with the crazy person.
Hanging out with the guy with the
crazy
clown
person.
nose.
You're like, this guy, anything can happen.
Yeah. But what is it about this girl that makes it okay to be with the guy with the clown nose? Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I mean, I love the psychology of what we do. It's probably the thing that drives me as much as anything else. So to tap into those ideas is really great, and use them to sharpen your performance is awesome. Now, take what you just said, though, and it's a very advanced thought, but I'm interested in the fact that you went to a school, you went to Stuyvesant, that was specifically for sciences, right?
Right.
So
math and science. It was a magnet school, so kids from all over the city would come and commute to the school.
Yeah, but it was relatively close to where you grew up?
No, I'd have to take the train, so I took the F to... I tried to transfer over at J Street and take it to Chambers Street.
So how long was that commute?
I guess it was about 20, 25 minutes.
Well, yeah, relative to what kids were coming from the Bronx, it was a relatively short trip.
Very short.
So, being in a sciences dominated school, did you have a thought of performing? Did you already kind of have sense of what you wanted to do performance wise, or were you taking a track that led closer to sciences and math?
No, I definitely wasn't. I only enjoyed sports and performing, and that's really, and everything else was just kind of fun. Most of the testing I find involves a lot of patience and not getting bored with questions that are in front of you or being like, this is exhausting. Yeah. And I think that's emotionally the hardest part about standardized testing is being like, all right, I'm going to give myself this much amount of time. If I can't get it, I'll move on. And just being a very long-term warfare encounter with boredom as opposed to like, a pop quiz. I never really was like a great grades person because it just wasn't interesting. The things that were interesting were the teachers that were interesting because then you got into the topics. So really, at that level, it was theater. It was storytelling. So like one year I did really great at physics. Had a different physics teacher who like kind of smelled bad too. And I just had no interest.
You turned off, yeah.
Just kind of like, this guy's not interesting. It's like watching a bad comic. I
relate to that entirely because I mean, by all rights, and I don't mean to brag by saying this, but given everything I was given, I should have had really good grades. I had a great school. I had a great, my family was very supportive and stable. I had relatively, I wasn't stupid, and I should have gotten good grades. But it was exactly what you just said. It was just the boredom of the system that made it impossible for me to think about this being an important thing. Why is this test important? And I would never do homework. I would never do tests. And if I could just like weasel my way out of something, or if I can just fake my way through something, I would.
Right.
And that's
they
how
wouldn't
I survived.
catch you, and you'd survive. So it was like, well, I didn't learn. It wasn't necessary to pick up those skills.
What I learned was how to avoid things better than anybody else.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's not really the way you want to survive school. You really want to come out of it with more smarts.
But I think school in itself, the way it's designed, it's not a 21st century model. It's like an outdated thing where it's basically babysitting with some skills that are designed to help the 20th century or 19th century labor industrial force. Here's just the basic skills you'll need for survival and to parse the weak from the strong who can help the workforce and make us more money.
Right.
So I think just theatrically, the ones that were able to connect with each student, it's like the yoga classes that I enjoy are ones where it's not rote. There's not a program. You're looking at the audience and you're seeing what the audience needs. And whether that be performance or it be history, let's get everyone on the same page. And I think that's with theater, that has always been sort of the overarching thing is like where people are checking in, where they're checking out. Let's take everybody on that. Yeah,
I think whenever I've had an opportunity to teach, it's always been where I think the biggest failure for me is having somebody turn off in the middle of what I'm doing. And I put that on me, not them.
Right.
So I don't know if that makes me a good or bad teacher, but it definitely makes a difference in how I approach it. And I would love it if... and I don't blame the teachers. You're right. It's a system, but it's like I wish there was more attention to the individual being able to be given so that they can grow in their own way as opposed to this regimented system. So, yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board with that. Go ahead.
I think it's also like this submission thing. There's like a dominant submission as the teacher's the dominant force and the students are submissive to it. The homeschool students that I've met are all like remarkably comfortable talking with adults. Whereas schools, some people are good at talking with adults and some people are very shy. But the homeschool students tend to be like, because we're all at the same level, we're just at different arcs of learning or whatever, they're able to communicate and deal with adult things in an incredible way.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. So having said that, it's bringing it back to performing.
Right.
What was it that? How were you able to kind of express yourself as a performer, not having the opportunities necessarily in school to do that? How did you find ways to kind of perpetuate that?
Well, before I went to high school, I was at a private school where we did a little theater, and I loved doing it. I had a great teacher named Marlene Clary at Berkeley Carroll, and I was there because my mom worked at the UN, and she was able to get some financial aid for it. But it was a very sort of small school where some of them were together from like 3 or 4 years old, all the way up through 12. Which was a very different. I went to a public school and then there, but it was very weird. It was like a counseling group in some ways, because people knew each other's stuff, like parent stuff, and it was really sort of weird for me to enter that world.
Yeah, I imagine, especially coming from Brooklyn, where people not necessarily are that involved in each other's lives to that degree.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because for me growing up, I didn't necessarily take part in a lot of, I didn't have religion, I didn't have a lot of sports, and it seemed like everybody who started real early knew each other real well.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical, and I compare myself to my own kids, and we put them in daycare where they're learning a lot of socialization, and even though we're not going to necessarily be with those kids long term, at least they learned how to grow together with people, and I think their communication with their peers is so much better. So yeah, I totally know that idea.
So that's basically, I went to that, and then to go from there to a school that's massive, being Stuyvesant, was like going from a little black box to a Broadway stage. Because I think one of the things that performing sports and making people laugh, because if you can make people laugh, you're communicating with them, they're listening, and they're aware. I was an only child. And so like you kind of get like really internal and sort of really in your own head. But if you can go outside, you can relate to people, and there's something going on. So that was a big thing. And it was like the UN of New York City. You had Chinese, Japanese, rich, poor. It was an incredible strata. Staten Islanders, the 6th borough. I mean, you had everybody from everywhere. And it was so fascinating to know these things, because you're like, oh, what are people from Queens like? What are people from like Woodside like? What are people from the Bronx like? And that was really exciting, because it was such a great school, and I assume it's still such a great school. And one of the amazing things that they had was Sing, which was the freshmen and sophomores against the juniors and everyone against the seniors. It was like basically they create their own play. Oh, wow. And they would write and put music, everything, and they would sort of compete for 3 nights. And there'd be a winner, there'd be voters. So we, the freshmen, sophomores, we beat the juniors and the seniors. I think it had only been done like once before or twice before. And it was really exciting. But in terms of mainstream theater, I think they did like 1 play a year. So I went from a school where it was sort of concentrated and I was really enjoying the track, but I went to Stuyvesant because they had football, and I wanted to play football. Okay.
What'd you play?
I played, well, here's what's crazy is because I didn't really care about school, my grades were low. So my parents were like, all right, you have to get good grades and then you can play football. But meanwhile, I was playing football after school anyway. We're playing tackle football in the fields. Like we play 2 or 3 games a day. Yeah. Then I'm allowed to play football, and I go to the coach. I said, hey, I want to play football. He's like, all right, well, you have to practice for 2 weeks before you can play. Or man. You have to basically drill with us before you can even touch a football. Wow. And he wanted to make me into a tight end, and I'm not a tight end. I mean, I'm a skinny guy. Yeah. And I was like, man, I really kind of just like the playing part. This practicing part is kind of really boring to me. And you go to their games and they weren't good. I mean, the mascot was a peg leg. Yeah, so it's like, a bad sign. That's a bad omen. Right. So then there was like a training camp in the middle of the year, and the coach is like, all right, well, we want you to come to this training camp. I'm like, oh, I can't. I'm going to Mexico. My family. I have family down there. And he was like, well, you should go to the training camp. And I was like, I'm going to Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's probably the only child syndrome where you're just like going with people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had a brother and a sister, and I had the same thing.
Right.
It's like,
I just assume it's what the plan is.
I don't have a choice.
Right.
They're not going to leave me home.
Right. And so I was like, okay. And I guess that was the end of the conversation. So I would just keep playing football. And I loved it. I played quarterback, receiver, and was just, I think, also was fascinating is you have that ensemble feel where you have a focused goal, you're going down the field, and you're dropping your real estate in someone else's house. You know what I mean? It's like you're going in there, you're going to use their toilet, try to flush that, man. So I was really a fun aspect. And there was so much. What was really funny, I think, when there was like debates over a play call, it would almost get Socratic. Like, no. And it was just like, let's just play the game, guys. Let's just play the game.
But you guys had to learn how to govern, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's tough to do with kids.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the benefits of sports is like, look, if we're going to play this game, we just got to move ahead.
Yeah.
And after university, which I'm sure we'll come back to, I went to Dell'Arte International School of Physical Theater, where a lot of their work is based in ensemble. And it's about making quick decisions, and it doesn't have to be the right decision, but it's about seeing how far those choices can take you before saying no. Because what happens is a lot of people say no to things. I'm not comfortable. I don't like that. Instead of seeing how far that root can reach out to the edge of the branch.
Which is similar to the precepts of improv, which tells you the same thing. Keep saying yes, keep saying yes, keep saying yes. So let's talk about where'd you go to college?
I went to Syracuse University. And I studied drama, and I loved it. I really loved it. But I think growing up, because I would only have like small relationship to theater, occasional Broadway shows or little things. Mostly my education was film.
Oh, okay.
So like Sundays, I wasn't particularly religious either, so I would pretty much watch Abbott and Costello all day. So it'd be Abbott and Costello, maybe some football. Great Sunday.
Yeah, that's what Sundays are made for.
So that was the basis of most of my stuff. So seeing film, seeing foreign films, all that stuff, that form of storytelling. Then I get to Syracuse, and I'm like, this is really exciting. It's great, and I really enjoyed working on stuff, and particularly new work was very exciting because like I find that the one tricky thing is like it is universities will create a form for you to work in an already, and I think probably that's outdated too because there's not the sort of stock companies or
right. It's
roving.
True. Like there's the resident Shakespeare company somewhere is a kind of a thing of the past. So learning to do Shakespeare, while still can be very important and could be very helpful, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually going to get to use those skills in a lot of different places. So new work's definitely. I'm totally on board with you on that.
Yeah. And so I got to do some really fun plays, but nearing the end, or I guess the year before, Daniel Stein, the artistic director of Dell'Arte at the time, had come in and was teaching a workshop on, I think it was poetic dynamics or heart of the poet discipline. I forget what it was, but it was basically there was such a working foundation of preparation before the work. There was physical stuff and warming up stuff, and then some sort of metaphysical stuff. Like there was a game of chess, but there was no pieces. So really, just physically, you would make moves, and then it almost like improv without the words. You would yes and whatever the thing is, and then relationship or whatever it would be. That
a lot of physical work,
right? Yeah. But it was the dedication of football with sort of the theatrical relationship to the audience.
Interesting.
So that was really exciting to me. And then I worked on a show called Paperback Opera with a friend of mine where we sort of created stuff. I helped design the set. And then they came back around and I was like, I really want to audition for this school. There's like some really great summer workshops up in Northern California. But I was like, these workshops look really great, but it seems like if I just go there for the 9 months that the school is, that I'll probably get most of that information because the instructor is the same.
Right.
So after university, I went there, and it was all about ensemble and basically about generating new work, which I think is so important for the actor, not even just to create your own work, but as sort of, you can't really think about, I didn't get this or I didn't get that. Or, so you're like, you always got something like you could fiddle on your car or like build a helicopter or like, So that was a big part of what I enjoyed generating stuff. And then it actually helps even more conventional parts as you're like, all right, well, how do I assemble this thing? It doesn't have to be within this sort of pocket. You can sort of expand this balloon inside of it.
Yeah, and I think like you said, like resident theater companies don't exist, and how we teach theater in this idea that you have to be a jack of all trades and learn everything from modern dance to puppetry being like a standard college education, perhaps. The idea of doing previous works is less and less critical. So the idea of creating a new character is far more common, you know, with all the stuff that's on TV and all the stuff that's on film. Even though they're doing a billion remakes, you're still entitled to put your own spin on it. But if you're going to do, let's say, like Death of a Salesman, you know, people might say, oh, well, that's not done right because we saw this guy do it.
Right.
So I think learning new works and creating new works is what's going to keep us going, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm all for reinventions and re-explorations, but I do think there's this sort of like element of visiting a museum. Sometimes you're like, all right, yeah, this was about theater. It goes so far back. There's the spectacle, and it goes so back to sort of our roots as human beings anthropologically. It's about the spectacle, and all of it is about the now. So if you're taking a moment in time and place when it like crests and lands at just the right time, and you're redoing that, you have to almost contextualize it too. So you're really just like, and then we would bring out the puppets, and then we would dance, and then the Zuni clowns would walk backwards and throw their own poop. So it's like it's finding that sort of balance. And also, I mean, the audience is 51% of the show. They're not 100%. They're not none of it, but they're there, and that's the fertile clay that you get to use, and their hopes and dreams manifest in you. We're sort of these godheads that even puppets of their desires and wills. There was an amazing performance. It was with some kids who were developmentally disabled. They were doing Wizard of Oz in Syracuse on the stage, and the kid playing the wizard, he froze on his line, and so there's this like moment on stage, we're just watching, we're like, what is going to happen? And you look at the teachers who are facilitating it, and they're like, what is going to happen? And the lion just improvised something, and the scene went on. It worked out great, and everyone was with it. And I was like, man, we take it so seriously, but like the audience is with us all the time. Yeah. And he got off stage, and what was really almost Brechtian about it is like there's a little flat designated the side of the stage, but he was sitting in a chair, and you could still see him from the audience. And he was like, oh, man.
Oh, you can like, live through it with him.
Yeah, he was like pounding his fists on his thighs, like, I know I messed up. And it was the most beautiful, so human, and like we beat ourselves up about like we got to get things right. Yeah. But it's really just living on that audience, just sort of skiing across that delicate attention.
Yeah, sometimes I think that's what's hard for me about thinking about doing theater, is that I would love every moment to be like that. But if you're doing a play, you can't expect everybody to be along with you on that.
No.
But there's like that Japanese wabi-sabi thing, which is like appreciation of the imperfect, where it's like, it shouldn't be that perfect.
Right.
Like, and if it is too perfect, it feels inauthentic, and it doesn't feel real, and it doesn't really, you don't get that visceral reaction. I bet you that would have been if I had seen that myself, I would have thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was
just
perfect.
because it was like a real life moment being captured, and it's very hard to do that.
Impossible.
Especially on a like an 8-show-a-week basis, you know? And that's why I do tend to like film and TV better, because it's like you put it all out there. Hopefully not in more than a couple of takes, but if you put it all out there, that's what you're putting out in the world. Yeah. And it's done. And you can walk away from it and be like, that's what it is.
I think when I first went to college, I was like, what is the difference between film and theater? And I was like, well, film, you can get it perfect. But I don't think that you can get it perfect, because there's so many variables. So it's really about being present and breathing and relaxation and just being in that moment. And just trying to capture that, and that's its magic, whether it be an error, like, because some of the great movie moments of all time are accidents that happen to be caught. So you're just basically roping off a space and trying to catch some magic, you know, and then you got some great casts or whatever, and the movie doesn't work because the magic wasn't there.
Right.
It's just the practice of catching that imperfect accident.
Yeah. And then the beauty of just saying, okay, I can't do anything more.
Right.
I can't try and obsess on that because it's done.
Yeah,
I have to walk away from it. It's done. It's out there in the world, and perfect or imperfect or whatever, that's the work I did, and that's what I'm showing the world. And I think there's something really empowering about that when you can embrace it. So that's what I love about it. So tell me a little bit about the clown experience, because I think that's something that really sets you apart from other people I know.
Cool.
You really studied not just like Barnum and Bailey clown. You really went down the history lane of clown work. So
it's
what's
a
that all about?
thing. Well, I think I was always into performing, and growing up in Mexico.
You said growing up in Mexico.
I'm not growing up in Mexico, but I would go there every year.
Okay.
And sometimes if I didn't understand what people were talking about, you knew that, again, you could pantomime or be, if you could get people to laugh, then you're, again, like I said before, you're on the same page. So sometimes that could be a fallback to if I wasn't picking up on what exactly they were talking about. And this was as a young kid. So I think it was just that sort of practice. And as I grew older, and in Syracuse, I was sort of conflicted with this thing of like, what is this seriousness of acting? Because in a university, there's also a hierarchy. There's also a politics, and like who's in with this teacher and who's in with that teacher. And I knew also that I was coming from New York City, and I'd be hawking product or performing on trains down here, and how I felt in high school. You just feel big and you feel strong, like Cuckoo's Nest. You feel full of power or whatever. And then you go to a school, and sometimes the machine's trying to make you small or crush you a little bit. And so I'd see a photograph where I'd be kind of like hunched over. But as soon as I get in my city, boom, I'm like, hey, I'm back.
You're the man, yeah.
Right. So that was a sort of conflicting thing. And then it was also fitting into the box of what structured theater is, because you sort of want this wild madness, a sort of harnessed madness. And I was auditioning for a show. I didn't get it. But one of the things that they did in the show was they were giving out noses promotionally. So I was like, oh, these foam noses, I'll try one on. And so I started walking around the town of Syracuse, and going from a university and like a theater department, it's a very small island. You go outside in the world, that's the real test, and that's the real reality. And what it did was it gave people permission to look at me, to relate with strangers. And I was like, oh man, this is magical. I mean, think about this. We would have no connection otherwise. We would just be strangers passing on a street. But here now is an event. There's something, there's like a sacrament. We're living, experiencing this. And you go downtown, and someone would be in a horrible mood, and they'd see you and smile. Or like you get off the train, someone be crying and look at you and laugh. And it would be like an exorcism of some dark spirit in their soul. And they'd say, man, you saved my day. And it was like a deep, very deep feeling, like this buoyancy that translates to the outside world and comes back and fills you with this sort of power and this energy, and it's a healing strength. So I would do that, and then I think I flew to LA, and I bumped into a friend. I was like, listen, we got to get some noses. So I got some noses. This was in college. I think it was junior year. And a friend of mine, Ben Acker, who does this amazing Thrilling Adventure Hour podcast. So we got some noses, and he had a convertible at the time. And so we'd be driving around LA, and it was the first time I'd seen a quadruple take. This guy saw my nose, was like in traffic, and it's a very serious town also.
Yeah,
and then we'd be stuck in traffic.
Especially visually.
Yeah, very visually. And so we'd be stuck in traffic, and I would stand up on his back seat and start performing it was almost like a Buster Keaton performance in the back of the car. And it was like such a great, great energy and vibe. So taking that, I took that back to New York, and it was just like it opened these windows. And what was weird is that you'd come back to your normal functioning things and be, oh, that's weird. That's not right. And I'm like, I'm telling you, this is the magic. This is the stuff.
Yeah.
People are digging this, and it's like a concert. So I did that, and I started doing more train performance. But now it's sort of structured because you're like, okay, here's a context for people to enjoy it, whether it be breakdancing or whatever. Now there's an energy. It's not just there's a hyper awareness. There's a postmodernist tint to it, in that it's not just somebody acting nuts.
Right.
There's a context for it. So I started carrying a red chair around that was sort of like a mini stage, and doing stuff like that. So you have a sort of more of a stage setting. But then I went to Dell'Arte, and
where was this?
This is Blue Lake, California.
Okay.
So it's like 6 hours north of San Francisco.
Okay.
Which is funny because San Francisco is always called Northern California.
Yeah, no, there's plenty more northern.
But there's a lot of woods out there. So at the end of all there's style blocks: melodrama, commedia, clown, preparing your bodies at the beginning. It's like 10 weeks. And now they have a 2-year program. But the last part, just before tour, was clown. And these noses that I had found in LA that I couldn't find anywhere else, they'd sold out, was the exact same noses. So at that point, I think we started doing mask making. So I started making my own noses. But this feeling, this sensation, this vital, renewed relationship to the audience was something that could work as a foundation for everything. So everything's kind of on top of that. And it was a very nice way to allow yourself to sink into something and saying that's okay. This is not like we get despair, but it's our ego, our character gets despair. Instead, it's just like a suit you put on. You're kind of in your astronaut suit, and you can feel sad or you can feel happy or whatever. And it was a very safe place to sort of explore and not sort of judge stuff, you know? So that was basically, for the most part, how I got into it. And it's just such an amazing science because there's no wall. There's no pretense. You're seeing somebody's heart open up.
Right.
And that's just like the kid at the Wizard of Oz show. That was such an honest moment.
Yeah.
I mean, we should endeavor to make all theater be that sort of cathartic. It's like, wow, that's me up there. Here's this mousetrap. That's, these actors playing it out. That's me. I killed my brother-in-law. It's like, or my brother. I mean, that's what it is. It's our hopes and desires.
Yeah, and I always say that it's kind of almost like a rote thing I say, but it's like nobody ever went to a performance of any kind and left thinking to themselves, "God damn it, they made me feel too much."
Right.
There's no harm in opening yourself up to the audience and showing them what's really happening. And I think, like you said, that's like the best way to approach it, and that's the endeavor that we go through, is trying to just be as honest and truthful in any given moment. And I think there's a tremendous amount of beauty and satisfaction in that, for sure. How did you translate what you were doing in a real sense? Because obviously this business isn't necessarily looking for the next big clown star, unfortunately. So how did you turn that into your performance, a career as a performer? Well,
it's funny because there was a little bit of outdoors and indoors, because it is a business and it's a very different thing. And I had a meeting with William Morris. It was actually on Halloween, and I wore my nose to it. And this agent was not interested in this. She could not.
How did you get the meeting to begin with?
I think my manager had submitted me, and she was like, listen, they never take cold submissions. Go on in. And I was like, okay, cool. I was excited. And I guess I was naive in the sense that I was like, oh, this is me. This is who I am. This is a part of me. And I want to be able to share it. But some in this world, it also is a bit of a hierarchy. So like specifically with agents and probably more now even than before, but I guess always, like they're in control of the room. And I think the fear of clowns generally is because once the clown is here, upside down is up.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Chaos has entered the equation, and I don't know what's going to happen. Right, so as soon as I got in there, I could tell she was like a little, oh boy.
Yeah.
So she would start the conversation, but there was like a weird vibes. So I was like, all right,
deer in the headlights kind of look.
Take my nose off. And I was like, great. So we were talking and she's like, all right, well, great. I said, do you want me to do a monologue or something? And she said, no, it's, it's a little quiet here. We don't want to make any noise or anything. Wow. And I was like, I could pantomime it for you if you want me to pantomime it. She's like, no, we'll have you back in. And she could not wait to get me out of this office.
So who's the manager you're working with? And is this somebody you're working with now?
No, it's Susan Rybin. I was working with her for a while, and then she sort of stepped away to start doing more, because she did a lot of young people.
Is that somebody who you worked with right out of school? Or
I think a couple years after. I'd met her through OLA, a Hispanic organization of Latin actors, and it was really cool. She was really helpful, but she wanted to she was a child actress, and then she started working with more, and then I think she decided, I kind of want to do, and actually a shoot that I did, I guess a couple of years ago, we were in the same commercial, so it was kind of fun.
So she wanted to go back to the other side of the camera.
Yeah, I think she wanted to perform.
Yeah.
And she's a great performer. So
now, when she set that up with William Morris, it's kind of like inside baseball stuff, which I really like, and I'm hoping somebody can take something away from it. When she set up that meeting with William Morris, how was she promoting you to them?
I think most of my success, or my entry into mainstream stuff is through Spanish. I'm half Mexican, and I don't necessarily look at.
I would say you're just like you're middle of the road.
Ambiguous. I'm sort of mainstream white guy.
You look American.
I do look very
you have that
American.
all-American look.
My dad is, I think, is Irish, mostly English, Irish, a little German, but I do look like a white guy.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the big threshold through which eventually people, as they got to know me, were like, and this is crazy, but they're like, you know what? We could probably have you do some English stuff too. Which is a very industry thing.
Did you grow up speaking Spanish?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you had at least that rooted in your background.
Right.
But it's
and
funny
particularly
how
accented, because I could speak with a Mexican accent.
Right.
So it had a little bit more. But yeah, exactly. It was just that, and in the very industry sense, is like they have you sort of in this little box.
So interesting.
Where they see you in a certain way, and then after time passes, they almost have a sort of revelation. Oh, you know what? We could probably not. I would talk to them in English when I came in, and I'd say goodbye on the way out.
You have flawless, what you would call Midwestern.
Oh, interesting.
American accent.
Right. People say I don't talk like I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But there's no real rules. I mean, I grew up with guys who could talk.
Yeah. Same with me on Long Island. I mean, people would expect me to, soft ice cream. That would be a typical Long Island thing, and I completely.
Did that take work? Did you?
No, just
luck.
You
just never picked it up.
Just luck. I mean, the area I was in was a little more affluent, although there were still plenty of people who talk like this. Mm-hmm. But my mom moved around a lot, and that helped. And my dad, amazingly, even though he came from South Shore, didn't have a heavy accent. So I think
that's good.
Between the two of them, yeah. And I always admired people on TV, so I think I just subconsciously. Listen to how they were saying things.
Right,
and that
prepping.
Subconsciously prepping, I think. Yeah. All those TV hours watched were purposeful.
Paid off.
Yes.
It was work.
That's what I kept telling my parents. I need to watch this show.
I'm not shirking. I'm studying.
Exactly. I was studying the thing that was going to matter the most.
That's right.
Screw this math.
That's right. And it's weird. We know. Kids know. It seems like their personalities are fixed from an early age. They know what they want. It has nothing to do with what the family wants or thinks.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting thing how the programming is already there for what you love or desire, even if it may not be ultimately how you think you're going to get there. It's incredible.
I think this business is great for people of a certain DNA. And if it's not in your DNA, it's not a flaw. It just doesn't work. And similarly, somebody who's working, doing very, very specific work the same way every time, like for 40 hours a week, that's not in my DNA.
Right.
I would burn out within minutes. But somebody thrives on that, and it's great. It's
structure
great for them. Yeah,
that's why I think the school thing for some people is good.
Yeah,
because they're like, I like the structure. I like this period to this period. I'll have this, then I'll have a coffee break, and then I'll have my little granola bar, and then I'll go back to work and have a salad for lunch.
How many 8-year-olds have a coffee break though?
Oh well, and apparently,
in Williamsburg.
What's really funny is that I had a nanny that used to give me coffee with bread, like a babysitter.
Wow.
And I loved it.
Oh, did you?
I was really young, but I was like, this is terrific. You don't like coffee?
No.
You're drinking the wrong coffee, man.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. What's that?
Are you a tea drinker?
I do like tea. Okay. I do like tea occasionally, yeah. Right. But no, it's really funny. So we're actually, we're going to have to do another one of these.
No problem.
Because it's fascinating. But for you and your career now, you're still applying the clown stuff to what you're doing, even as an English speaker.
Yeah. Especially as an English speaker. Clown to me is, well, and I think also business wise, if you're not comfortable with failure or not looking good or not knowing what tomorrow's going to be, it's going to get tiring really fast.
Yeah.
It's like in Moneyball, Billy Beane was really a great athlete, top of the class, number one top prospect. And then he started to fail a little bit and he couldn't handle it. Mm-hmm. And I think, there's a lot of talented people that you work with young that are so bright and shiny and they're like incredible Adonises who are just brilliant and charismatic. But it's not always about that. It's about taking your cuts, taking your swing, taking your pitches, and adapting and adjusting.
Absolutely.
And I find that the clown stuff is you can't be afraid of catastrophe. Things are going to get messy. It's just the way it is. Like any shoot, well, this is what we got to adjust. Hurry up and wait. Or in theater, it's chaos. And sometimes the chaos is the fertile ground with which the flowers are going to grow from. So you just take that and use it. You'll get really upset, or you'll have a fight with your partner, and then you'll be like, oh, that's the character that I'm working on right now has these emotions. We're putting ourselves in those headspaces. And so it's natural that we would change how we are, and I find that we're so suggestible. It's hypnotic. When we work on a part, we invest so much in it, and sometimes we're not going to get anything from it. But the process, that's going to stay with you. So the clown work is listening to your heart and finding that truth there, and then sharing some aspect of that.
It's not a bad way to approach anything acting-wise. It's pretty damn good.
It kind of covers all the bases.
Yeah. How do people keep in touch with you?
They can email me at mrclown@mrclown.biz, mrclown, or they can contact our production company, BCP, at burningclown.tv, or Mike Smith Rivera at Gmail. Our production company is at burningclown.tv, and we've got some of the videos and some of the plays and some of the things that we've done. And we just make stuff.
Just make stuff.
Make stuff.
That's the best.
That's the best.
Hey, thanks for doing this, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for coming.
Mike Smith Rivera, Mr. Clown. Really cool guy, really interesting guy, very cerebral guy, and a guy who brings a lot to the table no matter what he does. It was just great to sit there in his apartment that he shares with his wife and really get to the heart of a lot of the stuff that he was talking about there, because he's got a great perspective on the business and on performance. So I took plenty away from it myself, and I'm hoping you did too. If you want to keep in touch with Mike and get involved in some of the stuff he's doing, you can follow him on Twitter at Mike Smith Rivera. He's got his acting website up at mrclown.biz. He and his wife have a production company. You can see them at burningclown.tv. They do plenty of interesting stuff, lots of great videos on their website. And they co-host an event at the Ensemble Studio Theater. Mike is heavily involved in EST, and he and his wife co-host an event there called Last Call at EST every month. The next one will be on February 28th. That's a Saturday night at 10 p.m. at the Ensemble Studio Theater. That's at 549 West 52nd Street in New York. And if you go to that one, there's a pretty good chance you may see your friend Dave doing something. But you'll have to show up to find out. You can go to Facebook and look for Ensemble Studio Theater to get all the details on the event, but also have a link to the event on the website in the show notes for this episode. Thanks to Mike for hosting and for a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to doing this again with him because there's plenty more to mine in that really interesting world that is Mr. Clown. That about does it for another edition of Bring Your Own Lunch. Gotta thank Banuba, banuba.net, Banooba. Go there, download some music, and find out where they will be playing live, because they are awesome. And don't forget to go to our website, bringyourownlunch.com. You can send me a personal email, dave@bringyourownlunch.com. You can go to my personal acting website. You can go to davetkoenig.com or daveisanactor.com or bisonman.com. They all go to the same place if you choose to do that. And please find us on social media, facebook.com/bringyourownlunch, on Twitter @BYOL podcast, and we will be doing Thanks for Following Friday. So if you haven't already, follow us. We will thank you publicly on Friday on Twitter, and you can find us on Instagram. We've been using that a bit more. That's, of course, @BringYourOwnLunch. And if you really want to help the show, please go to iTunes or Stitcher and rate us and review us. Say nice, glowing, awesome things, and that will really help us get the word out there even more for Bring Your Own Lunch, because what we're doing here is fun, and I'm glad you're on board, and it'll only be more fun if we can get more people to join us. So hopefully you have nice things to say, and if you do, put them up on iTunes or Stitcher, and let's get the word out there to as many people as we can. Or even if you just want to go call up a friend and send them our way, and then more people will listen to the show, and everybody walks away happy. Most of all me. Stay tuned for Jimmy Jack's Cow Punch Hour, followed by Mansoor and the Fish. And until next week, when I have another great guest lined up, this is Dave. I'll see you next Tuesday. I think the aliens are after me.